Hi everyone, this is Heather. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I've got a card tutorial for you and we're going to be making this fun fairy card. I wanted it to look like she was coming up to another fairy store to bring them some flowers. I've seen a lot of crafty YouTubers lately shopping their stash, meaning they're going through products that they already own and using them to create something instead of going out and buying something new. So I thought that was a really great idea, so I got out some products that I hadn't used in a while. For the door, I'm using a Hero Arts die. This is their wood door die. It's got lots of really great pieces that you can create different types of doors. There's hinges and keyholes and a doorknob and a little window. So you can put this together any way that you'd like. I'm also using a grassy die from Honeybee. I'm also using an embossing folder. This is a wood grain embossing folder from Tim Holtz for Sizzix. And also an adorable digital stamp from Sweet November. This is their June Fairy Tot. I have gone ahead and printed her out on white cardstock. I'm actually using some marker cardstock from Spectrum Noir because I like the really nice smooth finish that it has for the technique that we're going to do today. I sized her to about 4 inches tall, so she would be about the right height for my door. So I went through my paper stash and I picked out some paper from Mementa that I really like. It has a bit of a kind of whitewash distress look to it already. So I took a yellow piece and cut it to a standard size card base. I have another green piece that's been cut to 5 1/4 by 4 and a brown piece of cardstock for my door. I'm going to start off creating my door. I'm going to place my brown cardstock inside the embossing folder and run this through my die cutting machine. And now I have that really nice wood grain texture on my cardstock, which I think is perfect for a door like this. I really liked that big knot in the wood, so I thought I'd kind of focus on that on the door. I'm going to place the die down and tape it in place with some repositionable tape and run that back through my die cutting machine. One of the cool things about this door die is it actually doesn't cut all the way. It leaves a little hinge, so if you'd like to create a scene where you can open the door, that would be really fun. I didn't need it for this project, so I'm just going to take my scissors and just cut along that embossed line and cut the door away. I've gone ahead and die cut my other pieces. From black cardstock, I've die cut 2 of the hinges and the keyhole. From yellow cardstock, that's the same as my background piece, I've cut a little opening in the keyhole. And a strip of grass from the Honeybee die. I'm going to set the grass aside. And using a glue pen, I'm going to apply glue to the back of these pieces and place them on my door. Add 2 hinges to the right. Press that down really well. I'm going to apply the little keyhole to the left. Place a little bit of glue inside. And that little keyhole piece fits right down inside there. And here's my finished door. While I've got my scrap paper out, I'm going to take a blending brush and some peeled paint Distress Oxide ink and add a little extra color to these green pieces. Just wanted them to have a little bit more dimension, so I'm just going to be brushing a little bit of the color on the top of the grass and also along 3 edges of the green cardstock. I left one of the longer ends uninked just because I'm going to be placing the grass over top, and I hope you can see that that does add a little bit of extra color and texture to those cardstock pieces. I'm going to be coloring my images with Prismacolor pencils, and I wanted to use odorless mineral spirits for some blending. In the past, I've used blending stumps for this, but I saw a really great tip from Simon Hurley where he used an alcohol ink blending pen from Ranger and Tim Holtz, and he filled it with the odorless mineral spirits and used that for blending. And I found that that is actually a really easy way to blend your colored pencils. So I'm going to show you really quick how to do this. You want to take the cap off of the brush end And with your fingers or a pair of tweezers, you want to remove that nib. Using an eyedropper, you want to squeeze up some of the mineral spirits into the tube. Now place that down in the opening of your pen and just squeeze the odorless mineral spirits into the barrel and place the nib back in. Make sure it fits all the way in tightly. There's a little notch and kind of a little peg, so you can make sure that that's in really well. And if this is the first time filling your pen, just make sure you snap that cap on really well and just kind of let it sit horizontally for a little while, just to make sure that both of the nibs really soak up that mineral spirit. And then you're ready to color. I really like using the fine, kind of more detailed point for this type of coloring. The brush end is really good if you have a lot of area to color in. I'm starting off with olive green, and I'm using a pretty light pressure, and I'm going to color in her shorts. It does not have to be perfect coloring because the blender pen is going to do all that work for you. So I've laid down the lightest color. I'm going in with dark green. And this is where I'm going to add my shading and shadowing and have it be a little bit heavier in some areas where I'd like the shadow to be darker. So I'm kind of pretending that the light is coming from the upper right hand side. So I'm going to have my shading and shadowing a little bit darker on the left. Now that I have those two colors laid down, I'm going to go in with the blending pen and blend those two colors together. As you can see, it softens up any of those lines and really blends those two colors together. So now I have a really nice soft blended area. One of the nice things about this is you can immediately go in, and if you want a little bit more color, you can add as much as you would like and either blend it out or not. Sometimes if I want some really dark areas, I might just leave it like this without blending again. But you can layer color, blend over top, layer color, blend over top as much as you would like. It's very forgiving. So really important, before you move on to the next color, you want to take a paper towel or a scratch piece of paper and run your marker over top until it runs clean again. The nib might be a little bit stained, but as long as you're just getting clear marker coming through, you're ready to move on to the next color. This is really important, especially if you're going from a darker color to a lighter. Moving on to her top, I'm going to be using yellow ochre as my lightest shade, and I'm going to just completely fill that in just like last time. I'm not really worried about it looking perfect. Just want to get that color laid down. And I used a light pressure to apply the lightest color. Now I'm going in with goldenrod and add that shading and shadowing, and I'm using a little bit of a heavier pressure just so that I have that nice difference between the shades. And again, with those two colors laid down, I'm going in with the blender pen and I'm gonna blend that all together and soften that up. I'd like it to be just a little bit darker in a few places, so I'm going back in with that goldenrod and adding a little bit more and kind of blend that out a little bit. And I usually like to use kind of soft little swirling motions to blend those in together. I've cleaned off my blending pen and I'm moving on to her skin tone. I'm starting off with light peach, and I'm going to fill in all of her skin area. On her face, I am going to avoid her eyes and her eyebrows. With the lightest shade laid down, I'm going in with blush pink, and I'm not using too heavy of a pressure with this because it is a little bit of a brighter shade, so I don't want her skin to look totally pink. Once I get to her face, I want to pay a little bit more attention to where I'm laying down this darker shade. I'm going to give her a little bit of a bridge of her nose and add sort of a half moon under her cheeks to give her a nice cheek shape. I'm going to color in her lips, add a little bit on her chin, and around her hairline. And then go in with the clean blender brush and blend that all in together. These colors are really subtle, so it might be a little bit difficult to see on camera, but they look really pretty. So when I move on to her face, I want to be really careful kind of along those lines where I added the nose and the cheeks. I don't want to blend those out too much. And like I said before, if you want to come in and add a little bit more of darker color, you can certainly do that. For her hair, I'm starting off with the chocolate color. I'm just gonna fill everything in. And I realized in this little section right here, I accidentally colored what was part of her headband as her hair. So I wanted to let you know that Prismacolor does have a little eraser, and it works really well to erase their colored pencils. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that brown out there. That is her headband. With the chocolate laid down everywhere, I'm going in and adding my shading and shadowing with dark brown. And I want to add a few little streaks here and there, kind of add a little bit of a two-tone natural color to her hair. And with that second color laid down, I'm going to blend those two together. I think these two colors blend together really nicely to create a very natural hair color. I'm going to go in once again with the dark brown and add a little bit of darker color in some areas and blend that out one final time. I'm going back to the yellow ochre and I'm going to color in her headband, the center of the flowers, and the bees' bodies. On the headband, I'm going to add a little bit more of the goldenrod for some shadow, and then I'm going to blend that all together. I've used the same green as I did on the shorts for the flower stem and leaves. I wanted to add a little bit of color around her wings, so I'm using warm gray, and I'm just going to follow along those stamped lines. I'm also going to add just a little bit around the petals of the white daisies. And with the blender pen, I'm just going to go around all that gray color and just blend and soften that up. And with my wings done, my fairy is finished. I'm going to take my scissors and just cut her out, leaving a little bit of a white border. And with my fairy cut out, I'm ready to assemble my card. I've applied tape runner to the back of my green piece and put that on my card base. I've also got tape runner on the door. Place that off to the left. I've got tape runner on the grass. I'm going to place that right along the edge of that green piece. I've applied foam tape to the back of the fairy. I'm going to place her over on the right hand side of the card. And I wanted to add some sparkle and shine to her wings, so I'm using Diamond Stickles glitter glue. And I'm going to squeeze out a big blob. And because this is such a large area, I'm just going to take my finger and just spread the glitter glue around. You could also use a paintbrush if you'd like. So I've applied that to all of her wings, and I'm going to add a little bit to the bees as well. And here is our finished card. I hope you can see that nice sparkle that glitter glue adds. I had a lot of fun going back through my stash and using some things that I haven't used in a while and creating a brand new card with them. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check out my channel and subscribe, and I hope you have a very nice day. Bye!